Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair lined up for you. So make sure you do stay to the end of the video to find out which pair that is. But yeah, guys, if you are enjoying the content, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss out any uploads in the future. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, guys, so welcome to the chart. So on my screen, Euro USD to start us off like always. For this pair, a lot of downside this week as we saw a lot of dollar strength. So pretty much all the dollar pairs heading to the downside, apart from obviously like USD CAD and USD CHF, who would have headed in the opposite direction. But last week we were talking about Euro USD. We were trading a very critical area and we're waiting for Euro USD simply to make its move and then going to follow it in that direction. So last week we were trading between like key level of resistance and this key level of support. We broke out this consolidation last week, tapped into that resistance, and price was still trying to make up its mind whether it's going to respect the support and head to the upside or respect this resistance and collapse. And as you can see, we've had that collapse to the downside. So now after that, we can see this is clearly a false breakout for us for Euro USD, trapping maybe traders on the wrong side there, grabbing liquidity above those highs, and now we're seeing that momentum come back in the market. So for Euro USD, the higher time frame trend is still to the downside. It's been bearish for quite some time, and I'm just expecting that trend to continue back down and probably see some new lows. Every time we do pull back, we probably have about 70-75% chance of seeing some new lows and the trend continuing. And for this, pretty much monthly, weekly, daily, 4H, pretty much all the time frames are bearish. So there's no real reason to long Euro USD. If you are, then it's going to be very intraday scalp, short term, because in terms of where the money's moving, where the market is heading, it's very clearly bearish for this one. So only going to look for sales next week for Euro USD, hoping we can get a pullback because we've got the lows down here at 0.99524. There's a chance we could open up bearish and just continue to drop to the downside. That is a possibility, but hoping we can get that retracement to the upside from the next lower high, off the back of off the back of forming that high, forming new highs. Now we're having a pullback, so you can form the first lower high, real lower high after that high up there. That would be nice. And then simply just looking to short the market down. I have two key areas where I'm focusing for trading, which is below the range here where the price was consolidating. You see a bit of a fake out there. 1.01407, so that's my first area of interest. I'll look to see what type of price action we can get over at that area, and if we can get good confirmations, we'll obviously look to short back down to these lows. And if we break back in the range, we'll look to see if we can get that next lower high forming at this resistance here at 1.02600, and again looking for the exact same outcome back down to these lows and possibly new lows. I mean, if the next psychological level is 0.99, that could be something to bear in mind. If we do take up those lows, 0.99 could be where we're heading towards next for Euro USD. So for this pair, more downside, only looking to short this week, hoping we get a pullback. There's a chance we could just open bearish and collapse. If that's the case, probably get a pullback later in the week. But if we can pull back into one of these two areas, 1.01409 or 1.02596, any one of those two areas, looking to short and catching swings back down to those lows there. So expecting more downside for Euro USD for next week. Okay, so up next we've got USD JPY. So for this pair, a lot of upside momentum this week. Again, dollar strength helping this market out with that move. We were coming into the week bearish, looking for some downside momentum, looking to short at this level here. However, as the week played out, there were certain signs at this area that the market probably was actually going to break through and continue to the upside. So I didn't actually look to short at that level. And as you can see, we have pushed through. However, I did give out two areas where we potentially could see the market reverse. And we're trading at that second area right now, which is 136.5 or close to 137 actually. Basically this level of structure here. So key resistance, if we break through this, we most likely just head back to highs and just see this overall bullish trend continue. Again, the main reason I'm looking to short use JPY and see some downside, if I go to the monthly chart, is this structure here on the left. So I was looking for this level to hold, which the market is currently still trading at around and slightly above, but it's a monthly level, so I only judge monthly candlesticks from that. So that's the reason why I do see the market heading lower. But if we do break through that, it'll be on to the next level, which is around 145. So you could actually still be heading up to those levels up there. So coming into next week, mainly focused at this kind of 136.5, 137 level. There could be some nice sells to start the week, back down into this structure here. We did break through, no retest. And if we can clear that, we potentially could come back down into these lows here. So looking to see if we can catch some nice shorts. Back down first, let me draw that again. Back down first into 135.378. But if we can clear that, we'll be looking for a bigger swing to see if we can get those sells back down into 132.700. If we clear this level, then simply break and retest, and we just ride the bullish trend to the upside and just follow, the higher time frames. Because if we do break through this, then I'm expecting us to reach those highs, and again, probably some higher highs as well. Highs are at 139.380. So we could be seeing 140 next, so definitely do not rule that out. So use JPY coming to the week, looking at shorts, really nice level trading at 137. If we break through, we'll look for the retest and buys back to those swing highs there on the left. Okay, so now on to USD CAD. So USD CAD as of late has given me a bit of back and forth price action, looking for buys, looking for sell, switching biases. Between the weeks. However, things are starting to really clear up now for USD CAD, and as things stand, as long as nothing crazy happens, it is very, very likely that we just printed the next major higher low in comparison to this low, that low, and this low down here. To me, it looks like the market has just printed in that next major higher low, and now I'm expecting USD CAD to rip to the upside and see a lot more upside. Back to highs, which is, 132.249, possibly 133, 134. Again, a long time ago, a few weeks ago, I was expecting us to continue that bullish path, but it looks like we've just had a few weeks of retracement, and now we could be on our bike again. I was talking about price coming back to this area here, really nice support and resistance, also lines up with those levels down the left, around 134. So that's where I can see USD CAD pushing over the next few weeks. So for this one, if my analysis is correct, which is looking very, very good, I'm expecting this to be our next higher low, and for price just keep ripping to the upside. So basically the next few weeks, only really looking for buys. Yes, there will be some shorts, of course there will be, but in terms of the bigger move, I'm expecting us to continue to fly to the upside. We had a critical resistance this week, which I said during the streams, if we can hold that level, we expect the market to fall, but we broke through, showing us a strong sign that the bears are stepping again. So as long as we can stay above this level here, I'm expecting us to fly to the upside basically. We do have a target here to look out for, which is a key level of resistance at 1.305, but main target will be this price swing high, and then we'll start looking at 1.33, 1.335 and 1.34, and so on and so forth. So for USD CAD onto the low time frame, simply looking at two real opportunities here: the break and retest of that daily level there, or a pullback into this level to retest it, and basically from that we'll be looking for longs all the way back to highs at 1.32249. Potentially might leave a little bit to trickle to 1.33 or 1.34. See how price action it is, flowing, see how it's looking, and they'll make some, judgments off that during the week. But yeah, USD CAD bullish bias again, not really looking for shorts anymore unless we see a strong daily close back underneath that level, which will tell me that there's a false breakout, and then we can short. But as long as we stay above 1.292, looking to long USD CAD all the way back to highs. So yeah, hopefully a pullback into 1.29, retest that, or break and retest at 1.305, and longs back up to 1.322 for next week for USD CAD.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you're finding it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so now on to Euro Pounds. Euro Pound this week wasn't trading the best. Do you have to admit, it was very up and down, up and down. Main focus was to look for that next lower high, break and retest through this level, looking at shorts back down to these lows and potentially 0.83 as well. You can see the market was a little bit all over the place. We did see a nice breakout of this, but however the market just shot right back up and back above that key support, used that as support, and as you can see, a big move to the upside. So as this stands, it looks like the market gave us a bit of a fake out to the downside, acted as if it was about to sell off. Now it's ripping to the upside and taking out those highs, and most importantly, back above this key level of support. So if this can maintain, Euro Pound most likely will push into 0.85255 into that price swing high. And then maybe if it's really starting to reverse, change trends, we could be seeing a 0.858 up there as well. So those are the two targets we'll be looking for. Only way I'll go back bearish looking for sales is if we get back underneath that level. But to me, after this fake out here, it's looking likely that will remain above and just see price continue to head to the upside. So depends what the market will do. We might see the market just open up bullish, push through. We have to look for the break and retest. Or we might get a pullback and the market might be kind to us and we can get a really nice swing trade there going. Either which way, only focused on buys for next week for Euro Pound. Back into those highs off 0.84371 and also 0.85300, back to those highs. So looking for more upside for Euro Pound. First target being 0.85300, not too far away from that, but second target, if we can break through that, into 0.858 for next week. Okay, so now onto AUD/USD, which took a big dive to the downside this week. Again, dollar really driving these pairs lower. In fact, AUD was quite weak as well, so that did help, but overall very bearish, which was expected. We were coming into a very key level here at 0.71, a little bit above 0.71, 0.71250 more like, but that was the level that we had our eyes on to see if we're going to break through or hold. And as you can see, we were respected very, very well for a very strong bearish engulfing candle there. So I'm expecting the market to continue to the downside. For AUD/USD, it is trading at some important support, as you can see here, where the wicks have collected pretty nicely and gave us moves to the upside. So it is a very important support, but the higher time frames are still quite bearish. I'm still expecting the market to head lower. If we are going to have a reversal and AUD/USD becomes a very bullish market on higher time frames, it's a level where it could happen. We could respect this and could start flying, but in terms of probability, looking at the higher time frames, everything is still pointing to the downside. So for me, looking at shorting the pair, you can have the conservative option is waiting for a break of this level, preferably a daily break, daily close underneath, and then looking to short the pair back down again. If you're looking for a bit better, not even a bit better because the risk to reward will probably look good there as well, but just more pips essentially. If we can have a pullback into one of these two areas up here, shorts would be looking very, very tasty indeed there as well. So predominantly looking at shorts. There might be some nice longs here because if we don't break through this level initially and we respect it, there could be some nice longs to the upside to take advantage of a push into one of these two areas, and then we can short it back down again. So it's up to you what you want to do. I'll just be focusing on the shorts. So if there's some longs, I'm not really going to look to take part, just going to be waiting for the short opportunity. So see if we break through the support, which is at 0.68700, retest it, shorts back down to lows at 0.66823, or we have some nice pullbacks, which would be nice if AUD/USD was to do that, but the market can do whatever it likes. We just have to react and adapt to that. So AUD/USD, looking at shorts from a break and retest of 0.68777, or if you do have a slightly deeper pullback, take some time to draw these out. If we do have a deeper pullback, then looking at a test of 0.69949, practically 0.7, or a retest of 0.70400, and again targets right back down those lows. So that's what we're looking at for AUD/USD coming into next week. Okay, now on to NZD CAD, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. So big drop to the downside. All the NZD and AUD pairs pretty much all took a dive this week, some more than others, but NZD CAD very, very bearish. So coming into the week, I did say to you guys, looking for shorts coming into the week from this resistance here. Key resistance at 0.82500. If you can respect that, expecting us to to collapse back down to the downside. I did also say this would be a nice area of support to look at for some longs, and the market just completely broke through that. Didn't really mess around too much. Slight bounce, but pretty much just broke through that very, very aggressively. So nice shots from the top there, but the support didn't hold. And now that we're breaking through the structure, seeing momentum come back into the market like this, I was looking on the higher time frames, and it looks like we could just be getting a break and retest of this monthly support. So you can see this monthly support, very, very strong support, big drives to the upside from that. A couple of months ago, we had a nice bearish close below doji, and the market just whipped back up into that zone. It's pulled back very aggressively. So we could be looking at the market continuing to the downside and taking out these lows here at 0.79093, which translates to these lows down here on the daily. So pretty much looking to short the pair of that momentum. It looks to me that the market's had a bit of a fake out really. You can see it was really struggling to push up. Suddenly big momentum comes to the upside, taps into a key level, and big momentum follows back down again. So if you pretty much just eradicate all of this price action going up and coming back down, the market's essentially held that resistance and seeing some downside now. So for me, this is a fake out, tapping to the highs, and now momentum is coming back down again. So essentially looking for a pullback to form that next lower high, almost like a big head and shoulder pattern here, with the left shoulder being one of these two highs, the head up there, and then looking for the right shoulder to come back down and trade back at these lows here. Let me just tidy that up a little bit. Back at these lows at 0.79047. So that's what I'm looking at for NZD CAD, us to come back down to these lows, just that higher time frame trend continuing. Monthly, weekly, daily, 4H, everything is bearish. So for me, from a swing perspective, no real need to be looking for sells. So if you can get a pullback, that'll be beautiful. And into one of these two levels where I'm looking for that kind of right shoulder, that next lower high to form. And yeah, we'll judge price action on the hourly. And in terms of risk towards, depending on entry and everything, it could be looking very, very tasty indeed. So we'll have to see how that plays out, because we are looking extremely bearish, and we could just plummet. We don't necessarily have to have that pullback. It would be nice to, but we don't have to. But if I do get short, those are the two levels that I'll be looking to get short from. 0.81121, 0.813. Let me read that again, 0.81372. One of those areas, look to get short, targets back down these lows. Obviously there's multiple targets here on the left you can look to aim for. These lows here will be great targets. Don't necessarily have to place your targets back down at that wick low, but that's from a swing perspective, that's where I do see the market heading towards next. So more downside for NZD CAD next week. Okay, so now on to pound NZD. So pound NZD this week, pretty big retracement. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to bleed to the downside and take out these lows, but steep retracement had, and that is to our benefit, because if my analysis does play out, I'm expecting us to eventually go and take out these lows here. And yeah, I can continue that bearish trend and bearish momentum. You can see all these lower highs with all these wicks, a lot of rejection here, slow kind of bowl shape, gone from making higher highs to making lower highs. I'm expecting that trend to continue until we take out those lows there. Very, very key support, which held us pushing to the upside. We've broken through. Now we're starting to struggle there as resistance. Do have a nice little fib from that pricing high down to those lows, coming to that nice zone where we're just throwing wicks to the upside, which is a good sign that that bullish momentum is dying out. And now I'm just looking for us to see that next bearish leg to the downside, to those lows. And this level could be a great place to look to place those shorts. So for pound NZD, main focus to see if we can maintain that resistance 1.914, hold below that. We'll look for shorts from there, or even a double top up there, and anticipate the market coming back down again. Stops above the high, and targets, again, wherever you want to place them. I'm expecting us to eventually go and take out those lows at 1.87. You can look at placing targets here, those lows, that wick there, you know, whatever suits your trading style, or how many pips you're looking for from a trade. But in terms of direction, pound NZD is looking very, very bearish still, treating this bullish move here as a pullback, and looking at us to go and take out those 4x lows and eventually those daily and weekly lows as well. So more downside up next for pound NZD for next week. Okay, so now to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen this week, some upside, but we did start off quite bearish actually. We were looking for those sales to begin with. Nice head and shoulder pattern, similar to USD JPY, actually looking for that right shoulder to form at that level. I think when I was actually analysing the market, we were trading at this level, so pretty early on, dumped to the downside, broke through the neckline, then broke back above, so a bit of a false break. The real target for CAD Yen was these lows here, so we didn't quite make that, and then eventually the market turned bullish and started breaking through those levels to the upside. So CAD Yen still predominantly bearish because of the higher time frames. I mean, higher time frame is definitely bullish for the monthly chart. But we're coming into this key level here, which if we hold, I would expect us to see some real downside. So I'm looking to see if we can catch a reversal from these highs. If not, we can obviously break through, see the trend continue. But I'm looking to see if we can see a little bit more downside. We've got this high here on the left, high up there, looking to see form a right shoulder, a lower high somewhere, to have that reversal. So expecting a little bit more upside for CAD Yen coming to this 106 level here. 106, 106, 250, around this level here. It's a nice daily zone to work with. From there, looking to see if we can hold that and see some resistance and potentially from that right shoulder, and work our way to the downside. Obviously, we'll look for development in that area, but that is my area of interest to short the pair. If we break through this, again, similar to USD JPY, expect us to head to highs and potentially further as well. 108, 109, we will really see this trend continue from the higher time frames, the weekly and the monthly. But looking for sales, first target will be this high here, that prior resistance 105, and then we'll be looking for push into this zone and then finally down there. But for next week, we'll just keep it to 103 because I doubt we'll see a move to 101 500 in 1 week, but again, never say never. So looking for shorts for CAD Yen. See what we do at 106. If we can hold, great. We'll look to short it back down. First target 105, then 103. If we do break through, expect the price to come to highs, and again, you can look for the break and retest. Still take advantage of the opportunity and maybe some new highs at 108, 109 as well potentially. But predominantly looking for shorts as long as we stay below 106 for next week for CAD Yen. And up next, we've got pound USD. So for this pair, again, our main focus was 1.22 to see what happens with this level. The market was struggling to break through. We had one attempt failed, second attempt failed. So the market was really having trouble to get above that, which is why we're expecting pound USD to eventually roll over unless we saw a big break above that level. And as you can see, we did roll over, and targets were 1.2 coming to this support here. And finally, these lows here, which the market I would expect to go and take out next week and see some new lows. Again, long term, still expecting the market to continue its downside momentum, its bearish trend, and eventually go and take out these COVID lows, COVID spike at 1.14, 104, expecting us to eventually go and take out that wick. So still expecting this trend to continue. More downside to come. It's difficult because we don't really have some good tangible targets for pound USD. We've got the bodies of this wick here, not this wick, sorry, of the candlestick as the next kind of target. You know, the bodies we can use as targets, the wicks we can use as targets, but all the main levels for pound USD are all, you know, higher up around this area here, 1.19, 1.2, which we're currently breaking through right now. So going to be have to using these candlesticks over here from COVID as targets, because yeah, there's not a lot to work with apart from the psychological levels, of course. So yeah, expecting more downside. Long-term target 1.14. The weekly candlestick low of the candlestick with the closure 1.16 we can be looking at as well, and we've got this low here. So that's what I'll be targeting from now for pound USD. Do you want to see some retracement though? The market has bled quite aggressively, so do you want to see some retracement? Hopefully get some outside back into 1.2. very, very big psychological level. Oh, that's not what I wanted to use. Getting the old fib out. From the high to the low, again, just below the 50% there. So if we can get retracement into around about that area, looking for a nice little break and retest, and then yeah, shorts to the downside from 1.2, potentially even 1.21 if you come up to those highs, but I'm not too sure if we will. The market is looking extremely bearish. I'm not too sure if we'll see retracement like that. If we do, then shorts from 1.21, be aware. But yeah, for next week, looking for retracement and then more downside. First target that wick, and then probably can push it maybe to 1.16. I don't think 1.14 next week, but just keep that in your back of your mind. So expecting more downside next week for pound USD, hopefully retracement into 1.2, nice little retest. Then expecting some new lows and potentially 1.165 next week. Now we're going to take a look at pound CAD. So pound CAD melted to the downside this week. A lot of consolidation to begin with, but on Thursday, Friday really kicked in and saw some downside. And as you can see, just about spiked through those lows. So we did have that bearish bias looking for us to roll over to the downside. A lot of wicks there on the daily, which translates to these spikes here on the 4H. And eventually we broke through this key support here at 1.1547, and we're trading at this low. So pound CAD, you know, as we can see, is a very, very bearish market. Higher time frames bearish as well. We are trading at some strong support, which is this level here. I'm going to be focusing on the wick here because the market may even go and take out this wick before we do see some upside. There was a lot of momentum from this, so we potentially could take that out, maybe even, you know, come back to these lows, maybe some new lows. I mean, if I do zoom out, you can see the market is very, very bearish. So I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we do take out those lows. So, you know, this is a very impulsive move, continuing that higher time frame trend really. So I wouldn't be surprised if this wick gets taken out and ultimately we're not too far from it. So expecting more downside for pound CAD, just forming another lower high in this sequence, and that daily structure is still holding. So still expecting more downside. We are, however, approaching this, you know, this low, this support. So there might be some upside. Predominantly, I'm not going to really be looking for any long opportunities, trying to stay in line with that trend. So only looking to short. Didn't quite see a pullback into this level. Did break through for a lot of momentum. Bit of a wick, didn't quite hit the level. So if we can bounce from this low here, push up, retest that level, that'll be fantastic. Looking for that next low high. Again, targets back down at the lows essentially, or you can be looking at that monthly wick at 1.52482. So that's what I'm expecting the market to go. Consistent lower highs with this one. As you can see, high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Market probably will, if it does have a pullback, probably print another one unless something crazy happens. And then yeah, expect the market to continue that bearish trend, that bearish path to the downside. New lows past this wick. 1.52482 could be the next target for that. So expecting the market to continue downside. Hopefully we can get a pullback for this one into 1.54760, and going to be looking for confirmations in that area to short it back down, back to lows, and potentially some new lows for next week for pound CAD. And now we've got pound yen. So pound yen this week a little bit up and down, but still trading in this kind of consolidation, if you will, in this area. We're still intact with these lower highs in the market, so we are still, you know, forming these lower highs and slowly pushing to the downside, potentially another one there. But the market is still moving very, very correctively all over the place on the weekly. Got key support here. We can see so many wicks into this area. So there's a strong level of support here on the weekly, which we're struggling to break through. Also wicks to the upside as well. So there is resistance going to the upside. And the market eventually does need to break out either to the upside or to the downside. It's a little bit 50-50, just depends which level we break. The lower highs in the daily still point to the downside. But it just depends if we have that momentum and we see that injection of momentum, because we're going to need something like that, because it's not only a daily support, it's a weekly support, you know, so we do need to see some real momentum come through if we're going to break through this. So coming into next week, still favoring the downside, because we're still failing to break through the structural high. We had this impulsive move. This week. I was looking to see if we can break through this resistance. However, we failed, dropped to the downside and broke some more lows in the hourly as well. So as we stand, the market's still failing to break through this resistance. So we expect the market to roll over, back down to these lows and back down to these lows. And at that point, we might just see that breakout on the weekly through these wicks. If we do, however, on the daily and the 4H go and break through this zone, that shows that the buyers are taking control. And then after that, we'll expect the market to reverse back to those highs and potentially the higher time frame trend continue. But as of right now, still failing at those highs. So basically, as long as we don't break through 163,500, expecting the market to roll over, break through those highs, we'll react, adapt, change our bias, and take advantage of the buys there as well. So that's what I'm looking for pound yen this week, back down to 162.95 and then 159.521. And in fact, if we do break through that weekly support, like I said previously, we probably will head back down to these lows here at 156 as well. So you can keep that in mind. And if we do break through this resistance, we'll eventually look for a push back to the highs at 168.500. So again, you can keep that in mind. But for next week, hold 163.500, looking for shorts back down to 162.95 and 159.521. Okay, so up next we've got gold. So gold, huge bearish engulfing candle there in the weekly. Like we've been saying for some time, looking for that next lower high to form on gold. High up there, lower high up there. So these are all lower highs, and potentially the next one there. Obviously, it's not confirmed yet. We can only get a confirmed lower high once we actually break through the lows. From now until then, we just have to anticipate that this is the next lower high. Been speaking about this key level of structure there, just above 1800, 1807, which we respected very nicely, and we're bleeding to the downside there. And we've also got momentum kicking in on the weekly as well. So like I've said, all these equal lows here on the weekly, expecting us to eventually go and take out these lows down here. A lot of liquidity beneath that, so I'm expecting us to rip through that eventually. And this could be the lower high that sends us on our way, who knows. But long term, still be shorting gold back down to the 1700s, 1690, 1680. So now that we've seen a pretty nice break of structure here on the 4H, taking out all these lows here on the left, taking out this low here nicely, this low there, and this low. Excuse the lines not being straight, but you guys get the picture. Now we're looking for that next lower high. So rip to the downside initially, a little bit choppy momentum, but if you can get a nice impulsive push to the upside, maybe trap some traders that this is going up, and then from there we can just short this thing right back down again. If we do go and break through this level, that's when I'll start thinking again about my bias. If we do push through and go and break through 1800, if we do that, that's when I start changing my bias. But we could even come up double top and then drop. The market has many patterns it could play out. All we're trying to do is just catch the next kind of wave and jump on the back of a momentum. So there's two real main areas I'm looking at shorting this for gold. Number one being 1767 and number two being 1784. Pullbacks into either one of those areas looks very attractive. 0.618 lines up beautifully at that level. This one probably lines up with the 318? Let me whip that out. 382. There we go. I forgot the number there. Almost lines up with that level. Don't really use the 0.382. Normally use the 0.5, 0.618, and sometimes 0.786. But it looks like a very good level. Reason being, this was our prior structural low. Pushed up, formed new highs. Now we've broken through that. So this normally does act like a good resistance to sell from, and if we do break through that, we also got this nice level up there at 1784. That could give us that next lower high for this one to roll over. And targets for this one, like I said, you've got 1700 and below, but we can look for this consolidation here on the left and trade into that level. Starts around 1730, ends around 1715. So that's where we'll be looking to target for gold coming into next week, and maybe leave some trickle if we can continue on this bearish journey to the 1700s and below. So that's what we're looking at for gold next week. More downside, there's a chance we might just bleed if we open up, but the pullback will most likely eventually come somewhere. So even if we do just spill over, pullback might come later stage in the week. This might be a nice little level to look at from that, and then we can short to the downside. So stay on your toes, but only really looking to sell the market, not interested in buys whatsoever. So yeah, gold looking at pullback 1767, 1784, shorts the downside, target 1730, long term 1700s and below. We'll see what we can get from gold next week. Okay, so now onto Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, big bloodbath yesterday, huge candle to the downside, but again, hasn't changed too much. Structure still structure. We have broken through these lows here, but these are the real important lows here at 28.55 where I'm focused. If we break through this, then I'll start saying, okay, maybe this corrective structure is fully broken, and I'm expecting the market to actually continue on its bearish journey, because we're still in that bearish cycle. We're still expecting eventually these lows to be taken out and price to be trading maybe around 12k. But yeah, this is the key structure at 28.55 that I want to see us go and take out, and then we'll start really looking to push the market to the downside. There is a chance that we could actually respect this level and actually start flying to the upside. And start pushing into this consolidation, which does line up beautifully that 30k weekly level of support. If I take that across there, as you can see, perfectly came to those bodies there. As you can see, really nice support, which is ideally where I want price to come into before shorting for Bitcoin, or maybe even this low there, which is around 36, 37. So there's still upside for Bitcoin in this bearish cycle. There's still upside in this level if it holds where it could happen. So basically, if I remove that trend line, it's kind of getting in our way a little bit. Basically, if this holds, look for price action in this area, not much going off the back of that, but this level holds, could see some nice upside for Bitcoin. Stop loss underneath the zone. Again, initial targets back at highs, and then potentially 30k, that zone up there, and from there shorts would be looking good, but of course that's quite far away, so I'm going to forget about that setup for now. If we don't and we break through this, that's when I'll start saying, okay, we've really broken through structure, expecting price to trade back lower to these lows here at 17,627, and then we could be on our way to the 12. I thought I marked up to 12, around 12k there as well. So basically, a little break and retest is what we'll start looking for, and shorts to that 17,627 level. So eyes on this 2,500, 21k level. And from that, I do think Bitcoin has an important this level has an important role to play, where Bitcoin could be traveling for the next few weeks and months as well, potentially. So eyes on this level. If you can hold a lot of upside, is looking good. If you break through, push back down to those recent lows at 1767, and maybe even down further to around the 12k mark. So eyes on this level for Bitcoin into next week. Okay, so now onto our bonus pair, which is Peso USD MXN. So for this one, looking at some more downside, had some really nice momentum over the past few days to the upside, but I do think it will be short-lived. It's funny because I'm expecting a lot more strength in the dollar, but I'm expecting this to roll over. So sometimes exotics are a little bit out of sync, but we'll see how it plays out. In terms of price action, structure, and technical analysis, everything is still pointing to the downside for this one. So I'm not going to let my kind of bias of what's going on outside of things, distort that kind of vision that I've got going now for Peso. So still expecting more downside. You can see the market had this big bullish run, but ever since then, we've been printing lower high after lower high, had this kind of big surge there, turned out to be a bit of a fake out, and I'm still expecting the market to roll over and looking at eventually back down to these lows. But for next week, we'll just look for price to roll over back down into the support. This is where we pull back from, looking for that next lower high to form. We've got one over there, second one, looking at that third one, and price coming right back down to 19.817 for next week. If you want to push the trade, we've got the lows down there, so and that could be a nice little swing trade there. But for next week, likely 19.817 is looking good to be tested or even taken out. So I'm looking at two areas to short this one. We're trading in the first area now at 20.2. Second area being this resistance here at 20.46. Either one of these areas look great to short at. Obviously, the higher level better risk to reward, but just as good as a level. You know, was structure here, form that low, push, form that high, broke through structure, no retest when we broke through. Now we're revisiting that structure, nice reaction, you know, dropping onto the hourly. If we can get another retest of that, coming London session, nice little confirmation, 30-minute maybe, and then yeah, shorts back down to these lows is looking good. Or if we do rip to the upside, we'll look at 20.4, what was it? 20.42, 472. Yeah, 20.472. We'll look at 20.472 for those shorts as well. But yeah, everything is pointing to the downside for this one, weekly, daily, full H. So going to be sticking out with those sells, and if you break through both these levels, I'll start thinking about changing my bias. But all in all, you know, this is our lower high. So technically speaking, if we don't take out that high, still expecting us to eventually roll over back down to these lows and probably see some new lows as well. So yeah, peso, USD MXN, more downside for next week. Looking to short from 20.2 and 20.447 there, and shorts back down at 19.8 for next week.
Okay guys, so that's the end of the video. I hope you all found that useful and informative. If you did, please be sure to leave a like. It does really help the channel out, and subscribe if you haven't done already. Join the fam, everybody is welcome. If there's any questions you have or want to share your own analysis, your own opinions, leave it down in the comments. Also, if you want to see a particular bonus pair in the future, leave it down in the comments as well, and I'll take a look at it for you. But yeah guys, if you have enjoyed the stream, please be sure to show some love, leave a like, all that good stuff. But yeah, I wish you guys luck for next week. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.